Hello everyone and welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Defiance and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I bought in November. I am very much aware that we are now into 2024, but if you haven't seen already, I have just been able to share the news that Tom and I have bought a house. We got the keys in November and it has basically taken over our lives, as you can imagine. We bought a semi-detached 3-bedroom house, but it's only ever had one owner, and that owner did unfortunately have to move to a care home, so it's a very old-fashioned house and we are basically gutting all of it and renovating it. So as I mentioned, that's been taking up a lot of my time recently. Every weekend has been spent there, and so BookTube has taken a back seat. But we have gotten a lot of the gutting work done. It is basically almost ready now for everyone else to come in and do their part. So we've got the electrician booked in, we have a plasterer booked in. I do think that we are going to take down 1 or 2 more walls, which will be a big job again, but it is amazing to see it all come together and I couldn't be happier. However, that has meant that I haven't really had a chance to sit down and film some videos for you guys, so I am playing catch up. Now I was going to combine this book haul with my December book haul, but honestly my December book haul is big enough as it is, as is this one, as you can see from the thumbnail. So I thought I would just sit down now and film this for you so that you can see which books came into my collection during the month of November. The first book I'm going to talk about today is this beautiful edition of Chatam Me by Chatam Me. This is a book that I have read, however I never carried on with the series. Tom bought me the first 5 books, I want to say, for my birthday about 4 years ago, and I don't know why, but I've just kept putting them off. However, I did want to dive back into the series hopefully this year, and so when I saw this beautiful anniversary edition, I believe, come out, I just had to buy it, guys, because it has beautiful foiling, it has these really pretty stenciled edges, and yeah, I just think it is such a beautiful book to own, and having read it, I know that I did enjoy it, so I don't feel too bad adding another book to my collection. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I can't actually remember anything about this book. All I know is that it's a YA dystopian where our main character's touch is lethal. If anyone touches her bare skin, they will die. That is until she meets one of our other characters who can withstand her touch. I can't find a better synopsis on here, sorry guys, and my copies are downstairs, I believe, so that is the best you're gonna get from me. This is a very popular series though. It is all over TikTok at the minute, and that is one of the reasons that I've been drawn back to it, so hopefully I can prioritize it. If you do love this series, please do let me know your spoiler-free thoughts down below. But as I mentioned, I would like to get to it. I may film a reading vlog for it in my next holiday, so maybe over half term or Easter or summer, we'll see. I feel like I need a good amount of time because there are quite a few books in this series now, but I'm extremely happy to have this gorgeous edition in my collection, and hopefully they bring out collector's editions for the next books in the series as well. Next up, we have a very anticipated release for me, and that is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This is an Egyptian inspired book that is compared to The Mummy. Now, if you guys don't know, The Mummy is one of my all-time favourite films. Love the first and second one, don't talk about the rest of them, but not only is it a book set at Egypt, I believe that it's also a murder mystery, so you know that this will tick all of my boxes. I am actually going to Egypt next year as part of Gavin's Trova trip, which I'm so excited for, and I believe he said that this is going to be the book that we're going to be reading together on that trip. So as much as I want to dive into it now, I am going to hold off and save it until I'm in Egypt, which is just baffling to say. There is a little snippet here that just says, "The Mummy meets Death on the Nile in this lush historical fantasy filled with adventure, arrivals to lovers' romance, and a dangerous race against time." So I believe that our main character's parents pass away very suddenly and under mysterious circumstances, so our main character then travels to Egypt to try and figure out what's going on, and she makes sure to bring her sketch pad with her and her father's ring. Now when she gets to Egypt, the ring flares with ancient magic, and she is thrust into a treacherous game that could threaten her life, and she's also thrust into the path of her new guardian's infuriatingly handsome assistant who seems determined to thwart her at every turn. This sounds like exactly my type of book. I'm so excited to get to it. I'm very happy to now own it, and I'm not gonna lie, the Fairy Loot edition of this is beautiful. I have been considering buying myself a copy off of Vinted, but I'm not sure yet whether to go ahead with that, because if I love it I will want that copy, but then with me moving house house. I can't have too many more books now, guys. I really do have to knuckle down and clear out some of these shelves, which is horrible to think about, but that just means I don't need an extra book. But my collector's heart is crying, so we'll see. I feel like it's going to be an all-time favourite, so of course I would love a pretty edition. I'm not sure if it's a standalone actually. I feel like it is. It doesn't say anywhere, but very excited for this one. Can't wait to get to it. It's going to be even more special reading it in Egypt along with Gavin and everyone else that will be on the trip with us. Next up we have Defiance by Brandon Sanderson. Now I've done that thing again, guys, where I buy the next book in a series that I haven't continued on with, because I read Skyward, which is the first book in this series, and I actually surprisingly really did like it. And I say surprisingly because it's a sci-fi book, if you couldn't tell by the cover, and sci-fi isn't really a genre that I gravitate towards. I find it very confusing. Space creeps me out, I'm not gonna lie, and so I tend to stay away from sci-fi novels. However, I did really enjoy Skyward. It was a very interesting concept, and I have now bought all the other books in the series except for one, which I believe is a compilation of short stories. I will have to buy that just to complete the collection, but I wanted to get to this one first because this was being released in November, and of course it made it to my collection. Now I can't tell you too much about this book in particular for obvious reasons. However, in the first book, Skyward, we follow our main character Spencer. Now her world has been at war with the Krell for hundreds of years, and her father was actually a pilot fighting against them. Now one day something happened. Her father seemed to abandon his post, and ever since he has been branded as a traitor. Now Spencer doesn't quite believe that her father would desert them. However, this has completely shattered her chance at becoming a pilot, as she has always wanted, and so it's always something that plays in the back of her mind because everyone keeps reminding her that her father was a traitor and that she will never be able to fly because of that. But when the Krell seems to ramp up their attacks, Spencer is allowed into the pilot training, and she essentially wants to prove them all wrong and help fight in this war to protect her land. I've not read that book for a while. It's a series that I definitely need to start from the beginning and power through, so sorry if my synopsis wasn't really the best, but I am glad to have this one now. I love these editions. The covers are just gorgeous, and I am actually currently reading the Cosmere books by Brandon Sanderson, so I feel like after I finish the first trilogy, which is the Mistborn trilogy, I can possibly dive into Skyward and revisit his YA sci-fi. Next up we have a duplicate copy of a book that I already own, and that one is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now I don't actually know too much about this edition in particular. All I know is that it has an exclusive bonus chapter that I desperately need to read, so I did go ahead and buy this one. I actually do really like the cover of this. If you've seen the cover for Fourth Wing, it is very bright. It's a golden cover and it definitely catches your eye, but as you can tell from my shelves, they are quite dark with my adult fantasy covers, so I do like that they went for a different look with this one. Now whilst I'm talking of Fourth Wing, I do actually have another edition that I purchased. I know, guys, I'm saying that I'm moving house and need to declutter, but how could I not get this? Look how beautiful this is. I did actually have the book itself. This is the standard copy that I bought the first time round and read and loved, and then I bought this custom dust jacket from Bluey Boo, and I just think that it is the most beautiful thing, so I am going to show you because it deserves its own moment. This is what it looks like, and yeah, I'm just obsessed. So I do now have 3 different editions of Fourth Wing. Another one is on the way, which is the Waterstones exclusive edition that will match the exclusive edition of the second book, because I missed out on the first print run of these and I'm very bitter about it because it's one of my favourite books of all time. I missed out on the Fairy Loot edition as well, so I do feel like I will be continuing to buy the Bluey Boo dust jackets, and then we'll see what happens with these ones. But in Fourth Wing we follow our main character Violet Sorengale, and she has been training her whole life to become a scribe. When her father passes away though, her mother is insistent that she join the Dragon Riders Quadrant, where she will face extremely deadly and dangerous tasks that are basically designed to kill her. Her mother is a general in the Dragon Riders Quadrant, and there is no way that she is letting one of her children become a scribe, and so Violet is thrust into an unfamiliar world where she has to fight for her life in these trials, but also fight for her life against the other pupils there, because her mother slaughtered a lot of people that were involved in a rebellion, and because of this there are so many children that are out to get Violet because they blame her for their parents' death and they want to get revenge. Not only is it dangerous enough as it is, but this year there aren't as many dragons willing to bond with riders, so the competition is even more fierce, and with Violet having a chronic illness, she is at somewhat of a disadvantage going in. However, we see her overcome so many different things in order to prove everyone wrong, and it's genuinely such an amazing story. Now I will say it's not the best written book ever, there are definitely problems with it, but this was exactly what I needed at the time I read it. I love the dragons in here, they are fantastic, they don't take any crap from anyone, and I just love that, and seeing their interactions throughout this book is just brilliant. So if you couldn't tell, I would highly recommend this book. I'm very glad to own this exclusive edition of it. I still haven't read the bonus chapter yet because I am reading Iron Flame at the minute. It is taking me a lot longer to get through that book though for some reason, but once I finish that I will definitely need some more content and I will dive into this book and read the exclusive chapter. The next book that I have to talk about is The Ruined by Renee Ahdieh. This was another pre-order for me because it is the 4th book in the Beautiful series by this author. I don't actually know the correct name for the series, but I read The Beautiful and it fast became one of my all-time favourite books. I did get as far as the 2nd book in this series, and then again for some reason I didn't carry on with it, but now that this book is out I am definitely wanting to dive back in and revisit the first 2 books and carry on with the rest of the series to figure out what is going on and where our characters are going to end up. The Beautiful is set in New Orleans in the 1800s, which is honestly such an amazing setting. The atmosphere in this series is phenomenal, and to our main character Celine, it is actually a safe haven because she has had to flee from her life in Paris, and she soon finds herself in the underworld of the city where she runs into a group called Le Coeur de Lion. Celine becomes fascinated by the group and its members, and she keeps being drawn back to them. However, when a body is found in their lair, she is forced to battle her growing attraction to the group's leader, Sebastian, and suspicions about his involvement with the dead body, as well as her own secrets too. As more bodies are discovered, New Orleans becomes gripped by the terror of a serial killer, one who seems to have Celine in his sights. This is such a good series, as I've mentioned. It is very dark and atmospheric. Ignore Kiwi, I apologise, she has just barged in here, but I of course am not going to kick her out. I will turn you guys though so that you can see her a little bit better. There we go. But yeah, not only is the atmosphere fantastic, but the serial killer in here actually has their own perspective throughout this book. You are reading their words and it is honestly the creepiest thing ever, but I would highly recommend. I really did enjoy it, and I'm very happy to have the 4th and I believe a final book in this quartet so that I can hopefully get to it relatively soon. I am aiming towards October time, of course, and I just feel like they will be the perfect books to read towards the end of the year, especially as I know that I do enjoy the 1st and 2nd books. Right guys, we have made it to all of my subscription box books. The first 2 I'm going to show you are separate to any monthly bookish subscription, so I did go ahead and purchase these with my own money separate to that subscription, and those ones are One for My Enemy and Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. These are books that I've been eyeing up for a while, not these particular editions, but I have been wanting to get to more of Olivia Blake's books, especially Masters of Death, because this is one that's had a lot of hype recently, and when I saw that Illumicrate had a sale on for these books, I of course had to pick them up. Any excuse for me to get pretty editions of books I will take, especially if they're ones that I have been considering buying anyway. It worked out to cost the same as it would for me to get the standard editions, so I of course bit the bullet and bought them. Now I'm not going to talk about these too in depth here because I do actually have an unboxing for these, which I filmed back in October, would you believe it, and I've still not posted, but I am ready to edit it now. I'm gonna get it up hopefully this month for you, so if you would like an in-depth look at these editions, please do make sure to check that you are subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss that upload when it goes live. But these are just gorgeous. I absolutely love them. One for My Enemy is a captivating story of ambition, sacrifice, and the enduring power of family legacies. And then this one, which is Masters of Death, it doesn't actually have a little snippet, but it's essentially a story about a haunted house where our estate agent is struggling to sell it, and so she hires a medium. However, he is a shameless fraud, but he is also the godson of death. No idea how that's going to play out, but I am very excited to find out. I'm so happy to to have these gorgeous editions now in my collection, and yeah, I'm very happy that I managed to get these on sale. Next up is another book that I can't say too much about because this is A Curse for True Love, which is the third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. Now, I own all of the beautiful Fairy Loot editions of the books in this series. However, I haven't been able to start this yet because I still haven't finished Stephanie Garber's first series, Caraval. Apparently it all ties in and you do need to have read the first series in order to understand what's going on in this series. So I have put Caraval on my top priority list for this year, and hopefully that means I can get to Legendary and Finale relatively soon afterwards as well, and then that way I can focus on this series because I've heard nothing but amazing things about this series, you guys. It is all over Bookstagram and BookTok, and I have massive FOMO, so I would love to get in on the hype for these books. I believe that they are somewhat fantasy romance, but from what I remember from Caraval, because I have read that one previously, and Legendary actually, it is a very magical, fantastical world that will draw you in and that has just a load of plot twists that keep you on the edge of your seat throughout. I know that we are following Jax in this trilogy, that's all I know, and honestly I don't even remember much about him from the Caraval series, so I do need to go back, revisit that series, and then hopefully I can continue on and finally get to this next trilogy. The next book I have is the Fairy Loot edition of Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Now, I'm not gonna lie guys, I actually really don't like this edition. I am not a fan of character art on the front of books. It works for me sometimes, but this one for some reason really doesn't. I also don't like the stenciled edges because you'd have to have the book sat this way in order to actually see the landscape, and I don't know, I just think they could have gone and done something a lot better with it. Like, we just have more character art here, which is beautiful, but I don't need that much, you know? I will say that the naked hardcover is beautiful. It is one of the reasons that I've kept this book, and I probably will display this book like this because I just really don't like this. I have the Illumicrate edition, I have the Waterstones edition, and they are so much prettier. So I do think I'm gonna go with the naked hardcover on my shelves for this one, just because I feel like it's a lot more striking, it's beautiful, and it does stand out from the other editions like this as well. Now, this is a book that I've been anticipating ever since I heard about it. It's Cassandra Clare's adult fantasy debut, but with all of the stuff going on with the house, I haven't sat down and prioritize this one, mainly because I would like to film a reading vlog of my experience reading this book. I think it would be really fun to share my thoughts on it with you guys. I was planning on doing a spoiler-free section first and then a spoilery section at the end where we can dive into our thoughts, but as I mentioned, I didn't get to it. So I am again putting this on my priority list for 2024. I feel like because I would like to film a vlog for it, this will be pushed back now to my next half-term holiday, which is in 5 weeks time, so it's not actually that far away, but I would like to give this my full attention. It's a chunky book, it's a new adult fantasy. I feel like I need to give it some time, and I'm just so excited to dive into a new book from Cassandra Clare that is completely separate to her Shadowhunter Chronicles, because that is the series that got me into reading, guys. I have always been a reader, however I didn't have this book collection. I wasn't really reading a lot until I watched the City of Bones film. Yes, I watched the film first, it's a masterpiece, don't come for me, but I ended up watching that one about 5-6 times on repeat. I could not get enough of it, and then I found the books to go with it, and the rest is history. I fell in love with the world, the characters, Cassandra Clare's books in general, and that led me on to read more books and start this channel. So I'm extremely thankful to Cassandra Clare. I have actually met her, which was completely surreal. I genuinely still can't believe it. I do have a vlog for that, which I will leave linked up above and down below, but I did meet her at Yalk. She was lovely, and I did get a photo with her as well, which I will treasure for the rest of my life. But yeah, I'm just so excited for a new adult series from her. That is separate, as I mentioned, from the Shadowhunters world, but in this one it just says, in the vibrant city-state of Castellane, nobles and criminals have one thing in common: the constant search for wealth, power, and the next hedonistic thrill. Yet as an impoverished orphan, Cal's prospects look bleak, until he's stolen from his old life to enter a new one of luxury and peril. He's to become Prince Connor Aurelian's body double, shielding the prince from all dangers. As his sword catcher, he and Connor will become as close as brothers, yet Cal lives for one purpose: to die for Connor. Lancaster is an Ashkari physician, part of a community ostracised for its rare magical abilities, but after a failed assassination attempt brings her and Cal together, they are drawn into the web of the mysterious Ragpicker King, ruler of Castellane's criminal underworld. He offers each of them what they want most, but as Lynn and Cal sink deeper into his world, they uncover an extraordinary conspiracy. As long-kept secrets unravel, they must ask themselves, can forbidden love bring down a kingdom? And will their discoveries plunge the nation into war and the world into chaos? That does sound really good. I'm not gonna lie, I have heard mixed reviews for this book. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm not looking at any reviews before diving in. I genuinely don't want to know anything about this book before diving in. It's so easy to be influenced by other people's opinions, and so I feel like it's safer for me to just stay away from this until I'm ready to pick it up and experience it for myself. But I am thankful to have this Fairy Loot edition because I know so many people would love this edition. It's just that I feel like they could have done so much more with it, and I was really disappointed with this edition as a whole. And we have finally made it to the last book, guys, which I can't actually remember if I've shown in a haul before, so I do apologise if I have. But that one is Bonesmith by Nikki Pau Preto. This is another beautiful Fairy Loot edition. However, this is one that I actually bought secondhand off of Vinted because this was part of their YA subscription service, which I am no longer a part of. But this was a book that's been on my radar for a while anyway, and then I saw this edition and it was actually fairly cheap on Vinted, so I decided to just bite the bullet and get it, and I'm so glad that I did because it's just beautiful. This is another one which I don't really know too much about. It has a very long synopsis which I'm not going to read to you, but it just says at the bottom here, Gideon the Ninth meets the Game of Thrones White Walkers in this dark young adult fantasy about a disgraced ghost-fighting warrior who must journey into a haunted wasteland to rescue a kidnapped prince. Game of Thrones is one of my favourite series of all time. I did actually start reading the books. I think I got up to the 4th or 5th book, and then again I just gave up, which is so frustrating. But I heard Jodie from Vanilla Moon talk about this book and she just sold me on it. She really enjoyed it, and she did say that it is quite similar to Throne of Glass if you like that sort of book, which you guys know that I do. So I just thought I should get it and read it. However, I haven't read it yet, but now that I own it, I do plan on trying to prioritize it. I feel like it would be great to read it in the winter months just because of the White Walker elements to it, and yeah, I couldn't resist, guys. Essentially, I got sucked into another beautiful edition, but I'm extremely glad that I did. I only hope now that I managed to get the rest of the books in this series in the Fairy Loot editions. So there we have it, guys. These are all of the books that I hauled in November. It's definitely a lot, and as I mentioned, I will have to cut down moving forwards, but I can honestly say I'm excited for each and every single one, and I love the exclusive editions that I hauled this month as well. If you've read any of the books that I featured in this video today, please do let me know your spoiler-free thoughts on them down below. I love chatting to you guys about the books that I plan on reading, and your opinions definitely sway my reading order as well. If you have made it this far through into the video and would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and leave me a butterfly emoji down in the comments. I just feel like this butterfly is so striking on the cover of The Ruined. It's a book in a series that I really do love, so I feel like it's a pretty fitting emoji for this video. I know I say it all the time, but seeing you guys comment the emoji of the video truly does mean the world to me. It blows me away that you guys watch these all the way through. So if you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, but you would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and comment that now. As well as that, please don't forget to click the like button if you like this video, and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. But that is it from me today, guys. Thank you once again for watching, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!